So a sports commentator on YouTube wants to estimate the proportion of Americans who follow professional football. What sample size should be obtained if he wants to be within 3 percentage points with 95% confidence if he uses a 2010 estimate of 53% obtained from a poll from the Harris Corporation, or if he doesn't use any prior estimate? So I'm going to bring us to StatCrunch first so we can look at it. So from StatCrunch, we're going to use stat, proportion stats, one sample, and width sample size, which brings us to this. We have 3 things that we put in to get our sample size. So confidence level, target proportion, and width. So let's talk about each one. 1, the confidence level. That's given to you in the problem as 95% or 99%, so we just have to write that as a decimal. 2, the target proportion. That's either a prior estimate or 0.5. If you don't have a prior estimate, you use 0.5 because that's the highest estimate you'll end up with. So notice they give you 0.5 if you don't put in a prior estimate. And 3, the width. And the width is twice the margin of error. And we're going to find the margin of error by looking for the word within. And just a quick reminder that if you have your proportion or your x bar, either one, p hat or x bar, we're adding the margin of error on either side. So we subtract the margin of error here, we add the margin of error here, we get the upper limit, and we get the lower limit. And the entire width of the interval then is equal to twice the margin of error. So that's the picture to think about when you're doing this problem. All right, so I'm going to go back to the problem. Okay, so we need to look at the confidence level, which in this case is 95%, and we'll write that as a decimal, 0.95. We're going to be looking for the target proportion, which is the prior estimate. So in this case, it's 53%, which we write as 0.53. And we're looking for the width, which is twice the margin of error. And we got the margin of error within 3 percentage points. So we want twice 3%, which is 6%, and we'll write that as 0.06. So our 3 numbers to put in are the 0.95, the 0.53, and the 0.06. So going back to StatCrunch, we're going to put in 0.95, 0.57 as our target proportion, and a width of 0.06. And that gives us a sample size of 1,004. Oh, it was 53, not 57. Whoops, 53. Compute. So 0.95, 0.53, and we put in a width of 0.06 and compute and get 1064 as our result. Now notice the width changes slightly. The width gets slightly smaller to round up the sample size to a whole number. So it rounds it up for you to make it simpler. Okay. Now, the second part of the question asked us to do the same thing, but asked us to not use a target proportion. So I'm going to clear these out. We'll still have 0.06 for our width. But in this case, we're going to have no target proportion. So when we have no prior estimate, then we use the target proportion is equal to 0.5. And we should get a slightly higher sample size. Because it was 0.53, it's not very different, so it shouldn't be very different. Okay, and when we compute, oops, we get 1068, so just slightly more. Any questions? So that is the classwork for 9.1. I have saved all the drawings, so those will be posted later. Any other questions on classwork? Okay. I know some of you are a little behind. That's okay. If you want to jump into 9 and leave 8 behind for a little while, you can do that, and then I can help you with 8. We can set up an appointment to work on 8, or you can look at the videos that are in the site. Okay. So I'm going to go.
I have a question on 3.
On this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where did you get the 0.06 from?
Okay. So remember they told you they want to be within 3%.
Yeah.
Okay. So within 3% means you have your p hat in the middle, and you have 3% on this side and 3% on this side. So the width is 6%.
Oh, okay.
And that's 0.06.
Okay. Gotcha.
No, that's a good question. Anyone else? Okay, so I'm going to go next to Pearson. I'm going to go next to nothing for a second, and then I'll find Pearson and get it ready. So in Pearson, you had questions from the 9.1. Find my notes. And from 7B. Is that the same thing as 9.1? I think so.